hardly, I was telling Linda, Chanel, we hardly have anyone signed up for this. And we're not surprised by that. People don't like to think about risk management. And
Yeah.
but anyway, what we're gonna do the whole thing, we're gonna because it's really important. And then
Yeah.
also we made it so that for all of the people that didn't come, it's a self-contained program. So you could share it with your senior wardens or your vestry or whatever. We put in a ton of resources so that you can
Okay.
force this on people.
Yes.
I have
the need of
Linda
that.
joining right now.
Okay. All right. So we have who's the last person that registered, Jody?
It's Linda. She's coming on right now.
Hi, Linda.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Okay, how are you?
Good, 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 good. And which church are you from?
Incarnation
Incarnation. Okay.
in
All
Miami.
right. Yeah. Okay. So, what we're gonna do is, as you can see, we had a very low turnout for this conversation, but we're going to go full steam ahead because it's it's a really important topic in the life of the church. I mean, I want to say especially in Florida, but especially everywhere nowadays. And then we've made it a self-contained program so that if you wanted to show it to your vestry or your senior wardens or junior warden or whatever, you can go ahead and do that. We know that this topic is a topic that people don't really like to spend a lot of time on.
Right.
So,
That would be great to be able to share it like that.
okay, good. So we're gonna just like jump right into it. I'm Deborah McConaughey. I work for the bishop's office in one of the congregational vitality team people. And Jody, if you want to go next and introduce yourself. Oh, you're on mute.
Hi, Jody Gonzalez, Parish Administrator at St. Columba and a member of the Vitality team.
Okay, and maybe Linda, if you want to go next since you came on last and give us one fun fact about Incarnation.
Oh, a fun fact.
A fun fact.
Well, the fun fact is we are now at the eve of our diamond anniversary. We'll be celebrating 75 years next year.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Are you all going to wear diamonds all the time? You should.
That's a good thought, especially for those of us who like the bling.
Yeah, exactly. You could have Bling Sunday.
Mhm.
And then at the end of Bling Sunday, you say, okay, everyone take off your bling and put it in the offering plate.
That's right. As long as they didn't go and bring costume jewelry.
Yeah. Okay, Chanel, if you want to go next and sort of say a fun thing about St. Agnes.
Fun thing, I would say, well, one thing I can say is that we know how to party with our Bahamian culture. We know how to party.
That's good information to have.
Yes.
Okay, and Linda, how about you?
Holy Sacrament, and this is thanks to COVID, has a wonderful technology team. Before COVID, we had nothing, and we have the most wonderful praise band. We have drums galore. We're actually having to extend our choir loft to, next week to cover all of the instruments that we have and all of the people in the jazz band.
Wow,
our music is wonderful. It's awesome.
I'm going on Facebook to listen.
We raise our hands. We become a little Pentecostal.
Yay!
That is cool. Okay, so and so we're from St. Columba, and let's see. A fun fact is we've been having something called the $5 bag sale outside in our yard for like 10 years. And we get everybody from our community, and people line up, and even the sheriff from Monroe County lines up to come to our $5 bag sale. So that's a fun
I was
time.
at Winn-Dixie yesterday and someone was yelling at me in the parking lot and they were asking, when's the bag sale? Like,
So
oh
that
my gosh.
it is fun for us. It's a lot of work, but it's fun.
And what's in the bag?
Whatever you want to put, we have 2 stores, and it's sort of like whatever doesn't go to our stores or whatever doesn't sell in our stores for 6 weeks, you get a garbage bag, a black garbage bag for $5, and you can fill it up with whatever you want to fill it up with.
Clothes,
So,
shoes, housewares,
I
fans,
mean, like
lawnmowers.
amazing things. I mean, sometimes it's design, it's whatever didn't sell, because we move things through really fast. So it could be like designer clothes and shoes. It could be high-end, kitchenware. I mean, we have this path that we go on, and we do the path. And so it's really, and in the summertime when there are fewer people in the Keys, we do 2 bags for $5. I mean, people go crazy. It's a very amusing for us and fun for them. And
It's interesting.
anyway, we're gonna get started on our risk management program, but we should all visit each other's churches and check out the party scene and the diamond scene and the music scene and the $5 bag scene. Okay, so Jody, go ahead. Okay, so we're gonna just we're just gonna go through the format, and I'm going to introduce our FAMA Bible study, which if you've been in this conversation format before, we always start off our sessions with the FAMA Bible study. And if you look to the bottom of the page, FAMA stands for Facts, Association, Meaning, and Action. And we actually learned this Bible study kind of after St. Columba was more or less destroyed in Hurricane Irma. And we were joining with a group of people through Episcopal Relief and Development. They were trying to support us in all different kinds of ways. And we learned this Bible study with a bunch of the other churches that had been hit really hard that year, from Puerto Rico and South Carolina, Texas, us. Is that it, Jody? I think so.
I think so.
Yeah, and so they taught us this Bible study, and we loved it. Immediately, it can be expanded to be a complete standalone Bible study that would take an hour, or as you can see, this is going to take us maybe 5 minutes, and it really sets the tone. You'll notice that we've tried to set the tone of this conversation with this Bible study, and that is really key to our life in the church, I believe. So if someone would like to chime in and just read the whole Ephesians, that would be great.
I will read.
Okay.
So then, you are no longer strangers and aliens, but you are fellow citizens with the saints and also members of the household of God, built upon the foundation of the apostles and prophets, with Christ Jesus himself as the cornerstone. In him, the whole structure is joined together and grows into a holy temple in the Lord, in whom you are also built together spiritually into a dwelling place for God.
Thank you, Linda. And so if you look down at the bottom of the page, under the F for facts, reflect and discuss what was done or seen in the reading. So what did you hear there in that reading, and how it pertains to the life of the church?
I think what struck me here is that we're fellow citizens with everybody. I mean, it kind of reminds me, it's like, who is your neighbor? We're fellow citizens with the saints. We're fellow citizens with the homeless on the street. We're all called together to serve God and dwell with him.
Thanks, Linda. Thank you. Anybody else want to chime in really quickly? Okay, well then let's move on to association. Connect the experience to your own feelings and lives. So you can see that association is the A in FAMA. Connect the experience to your own feelings and lives. I mean, what I can say, and I feel like I can say this because I actually didn't select this Bible study, Jody did. And it's, I think in many respects, it's the perfect Bible study for today, that it flips back and forth between the, I love like the building words that is used in the letter to the Ephesians. The foundation, the cornerstone, the whole structure, the dwelling place, and the association I have, of course, is when when our church was really nearly destroyed, and how through really the gift of the Holy Spirit, and also the tremendous different gifts of people within our St. Columba walls and in the community, we've been able to rebuild. So anybody else you want to sort of say, what does this bring up in you?
I like the word holy.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not just like any other place. It's not like Publix,
No,
right?
it's a holy place.
Yeah, set aside. Yeah. Okay, and then just moving down quickly.
I have something also.
Go ahead.
I was looking, this is Linda Johnson.
Yep.
I was looking at the first verse. So then you are no longer strangers and aliens. And that brings to mind a psalm. I don't remember the number, but there is a psalm that says that we are strangers here. And so Christ has taken us to a different place because of our association with Christ, because he is our savior, our joint heir, our brother. We are in a different place. We can I think we can negotiate here in the earth better because of what he has done for us and who we are in him. It's difficult living here on the earth, in this earth, and especially lately, I can feel like a stranger to alien because I don't know what things are strange. People seem to be getting stranger, and this is just kind of encouraging that we're no longer strangers and aliens, but because of who we are as Christ followers, we have a place here, and we can manage this earth better.
Thank you, Linda. Thank you. Yeah, we're members. We're all members. We're all together. Okay, let's move now down to meaning. Identify and discuss the deeper meaning of the experience and its importance. What's this mean for us as fellow sojourners?
Well, I think it means in part that we aren't doing this alone. We have a foundation that has been shared with us, fortunately, and technology makes it even better. So we know what God expects of us. We know what we have available, the power that we have through him. that we can depend on Jesus to shore us up, to pray for us, to intercede for us, and we work together. So we don't do what we can't do what we need to do in isolation.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. And anybody else want to chime in under Mimi?
I'll chime in. Sorry, I'm trying to do multitask, but still listening.
Okay.
And number 20, where it says build upon the foundation. And we know that when we celebrate our patronal, that the hymn Church is One Foundation. And of course that is the most touching hymn when it comes to that, because it's stating we're gathered in fellowship, but we're gathering to give him praise and worship for allowing us to establish a foundation to worship him.
Well, thank you.
You
All right. And now let's just like flip to the final one. Action. Invite people to take action. What type of action does this invite us to take? What are we being welcomed into here with this passage?
I look at the word again, holy and temple and a dwelling place. And how I relate to this with risk management, and a couple of weeks ago, stewardship. This is a holy place, and God, I guess God, I would say he expects us to take care of this place and be good stewards. And that is through stewardship of our facilities is one way, but also you can't be a good steward of your facility if you don't know what risks there are and how you can protect your church, the holy place, from the things that could happen, and or then if something does happen, where help is going to be provided for you, and that you're, and for insurance properly covered.
Okay, thanks, Linda. Thank you. Well, thank you, everybody. And so you can see how you could use this anytime, anywhere, to do a Bible study. So we're going to move on to the risk mitigation or risk assessment part of the program. So Jody, if you want to, whoops. Okay.
Do you want me to go down?
Yeah, let's just go right down. And we're going to talk about the nature of risk, and we've made a little outline. I mean, we were prepared for really no one showing up. So do you wait a minute, whoops. Do you have the other stuff in the, or is this it? I need to go get my notebook, I think, then.
Okay, you want me to pull yours up?
Yeah, if you can pull mine up, that would be really.
Just give me a second.
Okay. Or I can go get my notebook. We're high tech, low tech here.
You'll have to do yours because I won't.
Okay, I'll be back in a second. Just 1 second. I can just pull. Wait a minute. I can just pull it up on my phone. Haha. Wait a minute. I'll just pull it up on my phone. What a concept. I'm semi low tech here. Okay. All right, so here we go. Sorry about that. Let's just talk about what is risk, and why should we care about risk. And this is not like a complete list. I mean, I've tried to like give a very broad brushstroke of risk, but you might, while I'm talking, start thinking about, oh, well, there are other risks, Deborah, that you are not mentioning. So, I mean, just the broad definition of risk is a potential hazard or an opportunity for something to go wrong. And so there's different types of risk. There's financial risk, there's physical risk, which could enable property or human risk. There's interpersonal risk, and I was kind of thinking about the whole safe church components there. And then there's technological risk, which, you know, we've really entered into. Not a day goes by where we don't see somebody's been hacked or something like that. So those are the kind of 4 areas that I thought of and that are really listed by the resources. But in the context of your congregation and your facility, you might also think of more. And so what do we do with risk? And what are we doing here? What I'm trying to advocate for is that each congregation does something which we would call a risk analysis. And a risk analysis is a thorough study of potential hazard. So it's not saying, oh, you know, I mean, the most risk-free environment would be if we just took our churches and shrink wrap them, right? We shrink wrap them and didn't let anybody in the building. And there we are sort of risk-free at that point. But we're in the life of the church, and that's not our mission and ministry. So we can do a risk analysis and kind of figure out in a way that is structured and you know, thorough, figure out what are the potential hazards in our congregation. And then once we figure out what are the potential hazards, be they physical, financial, interpersonal, or technological, once we've made that analysis, then we move on to the next step, which is a risk assessment, which is making a judgment about something about the potential hazard. So for example, here in the life of our churches down here in South Florida, we would say, if we look at the property analysis, we would be looking at things like trees and flood and hurricane windows and things like that. And we would be making some risk assessments on where we are above sea level and all of those things. And we would say, well, we're pretty high risk for those, for something like that happening. But if we looked at an analysis and said, if you said to your vestry, for example, I really think our potential hazard of the churches in Southeast Florida is hail damage. You know, hail damage. They would look at you like, no, you're wrong, right? No, you're wrong. In Colorado, for example, in the Diocese of Colorado, you know, hail damage is a thing. And so after we make our analysis of all of the different areas of financial, physical, property or human, interpersonal, technological, all the things that could go wrong, then we could create a kind of a chart or a list, which makes a judgment about something, about the potential hazard, where we would say, yeah, the potential hazard for a hurricane or flood or a trip and fall or you know, something that is a serious potential hazard. And we're going to work very hard to mitigate against that hazard. We're not going to be so much worried about hail in our diocese. Okay, does that make sense? So there's the difference between analysis and assessment. And so the question that we're going to focus on today is how to begin with a risk management program. And you can see, I mean, we see right here, people have voted with their feet. Okay. There's not the big problem really is that people, they're not interested in this. They prefer not to think about it. It's a lot of detailed work. You have to have a particular type of personality or a particular type of church structure to be able to even begin to get into this. And in some respects, that's the hill that we have to climb. How to begin with a risk management program and how to identify potential hazards at your church. Those are the questions. Now, I cannot tell a lie. At St. Columba, prior to our building nearly being destroyed, we thought we were in pretty good shape. You know, we had insurance. When the hurricanes came, we would, you know, kind of make an assessment of what type of hurricane we were going to have. But we didn't really have, we had actually an insurance executive look at our insurance. So on a scale of 1 to 10, I would give us maybe a 5, maybe a 4 in our preparation. We gave maybe a 6, between 4 and 6. We gave lip service to having a risk management program. We, you know, paid our insurance on time. We, you know, didn't really have trip hazards around as far as we knew. We were pretty compliant with the Safeguarding God's Children because we have an after-school program. I would say, you know, we tried to really remain in compliance with that. And we did some punch lists from time to time. But we didn't really have, we had a junior warden. We took care of, you know, the church was, you know, pretty well maintained. But we didn't have an identified risk management program at the church. And now we do. I mean, they're really, our risk management program came out of really the rebuilding team that rebuilt the church. And we operate with an ongoing punch list in kind of cooperation with, you know, the administrative wing of the office. So how to begin with a risk management program, how to identify hazards at your church, who will identify the hazard, and we have all of this. This all will be sent to you so that you can do your own standalone program for your leadership. Who will identify the hazard? When will the hazard be identified? And what actions to take in identifying and correcting risks? And why do we prevent damage, disaster, and loss? And so the last question is, so we've got the how, who, what, where, when, and why is there. And you know, you could add your own if you're going to give this program. Well, we're happy to give this program again. You know, we're happy to give this because, I mean, take it from me, it's really important, really, really important. So I think our main, you know, for the people that are here, our main troubles are trying to get, you know, people's attention on this is like really, really, really important. And so I have some suggestions around how to do that, and we can brainstorm some ideas. If you can get a group together, which is my first point, get a group together around a point of leadership. And so the natural leader could be the junior warden, It could be if you have a general contractor or, you know, someone that's really handy in your parish that has an interest in, you know, keeping things up and keeping things together. That type of personality, you know, the attention to detail that a general contractor has lends itself toward being the sorry, this was my general contractor calling me, as a matter of fact, towards the being the point person for a group. And so I would say, you know, talk to your rectors, talk to your senior wardens, try to address the vestry in a way that's, you know, non-confrontational, invitational. Show them this video. Or if you feel like the video is going to be too much, just print out the sheets and say, you know, these are some ideas and opportunities for growth in the life of the parish. So you could, you know, have like a little, I don't know if after your church services on Sundays, if you have a coffee hour, if you had a special coffee hour and try to introduce people to it, if you would have a special program on a weeknight with a potluck dinner, because once people kind of dive into it as a point of stewardship and as a point of the work of people coming together, I think they have a different attitude and look at it not necessarily just from one more thing to check off on the list, but from a stewardship and mitigation perspective. So, you know, form a team or find a leader. And so you're going to be the conduits back to the church, to the rector or to the priest in charge, to the vestry, to say, you know, this is something that is really, really, really important. And then I tried to, I'm knowing once again that this is not an easy conversation. We've provided some resources. There's a video on risk management that we've provided. It's not the normal risk management video. It's a TED Talk by a mountain climber, a guy who has climbed all over, and he talks about it's called the MEAT, MEAT, even though he's a vegetarian. It's the MEAT assessment of risk management, and he talks about how in mountain climbing they make their different assessments of whether or not it's safe to go up. It's a really short video, and it's non-threatening, and it's a different kind of unusual way into talking about risk management. Prior to watching the video, we're going to provide for you a bunch of different worksheets through the different resources. So there's worksheets that you can, you know, little checklists and punch lists that you can do electronically or on paper, so that either at that meeting when you see who's interested, or at a meeting after it's a designated committee, you get the worksheets either electronic or on paper, and you start to do a bunch of walkarounds. And you walk around, you know, the church proper, right? You walk around the physical structure of the buildings, but you also do a walk around the aspect of safe church. You do a walk around the aspect of technology or the finances, so that you can see, because what you're trying to reveal for yourself are, where are our weak spots? Where are places where's our growing edge with risk management? And how can we best have the stewardship of not only our buildings, but of our congregation? And then take advantage of the free visit that church insurance will make to your congregation. You know, we pay really huge premiums, as we all know, down here in South Florida. And this is something that you can get back for your money. Church insurance, you can call church insurance and we're going to give you the number. They will do a scheduled appointment to come down with your vestry or with your rector or with, you know, your junior and senior wardens, whoever it is, to do a serious walk around of your church buildings. And this walk around is hours long. They have a checklist. They go through everything. They go through the buildings. They go through with you the kind of the technology, how you're handling your money. They go through fire prevention, and this is free. And it is a good starting off point to know from a higher bird's eye view, really, the higher ups in the world of the Episcopal Church. What are the things that are important, and how can we mitigate against some of these risks? So you're going to, the first task, just to kind of like go over things, you're going to sort of find out the people that are interested. And we know, I mean, a lot of times on this conversation call, if you know, we'll have like 20 people. You know, we'll have like 20 people, and you know, we knew that this was going to happen. So so that is not an easy task, to sort of be invitational and to try to get people to catch the fire of knowing how important this is, because one disaster could destroy a church. You know, and if you don't have the wherewithal, the spiritual wherewithal, the people in place, the little money set aside to pay your co-pay, or even if it's worse, where it's something that was preventable and there's nothing that that you can do besides pay out of pocket, and you know, it could be disastrous for the lives of the church. And so then you're going to have then generated a bunch of lists. And so that's really the first, that's your risk analysis, right? That's your risk analysis. And so you can look at some of those things and go, yeah, that is a potential problem. It's maybe far-fetched. So we're going to put that on the bottom of the list, or we're going to, as part of our risk assessment, we're going to say, this is a risk, yes, but in South Florida, like the hail, it is a minimal risk. So you're going to then work through the weak areas on the generated list to mitigate the risk. And because your team that you've built now has been so terrific, you're then going to be able to revisit this on an annual basis. And because you've done such a good job in the first year, it's not going to be a daunting task, and you've maintained a kind of punch list. A good time to schedule these risk assessments and analysis would be right before the annual meeting. And so that is really my talk in a nutshell. And so now, Jody, if you want to go on to like the resources that we've provided, and I'm going to sort of talk with you about, I mean, honestly, I think I could go to work for church insurance, because I'm so excited about this topic. No joking around. I mean, you almost lose your church to a hurricane, and you know, have to have hand-to-hand combat with church insurance for years, and then think back about what you could have done to prevent that risk. Now, we might not have been able to prevent a risk from a Category 4 hurricane, you know, striking the Keys, but it really gets you thinking about this topic. And then also, as part of our work, we go around and we travel to different congregations, and we, you know, you get to really know the nuts and bolts of the way congregations work, and you realize that this, in many respects, is a growing edge in the life of our church, particularly with aging buildings that haven't, due to maybe it's a really large building and the congregation is smaller, or you know, people aren't interested in the idea of mitigation, that you might be facing a very long to-do list, and that is terrifying. I mean, it can be terrifying. But what do they say? They say the way to eat an elephant is one bite at a time. And so Jody, whoops. So we from
May I ask a question before you move on?
Absolutely.
I want to go over at the beginning, you named the risks, or some of the lists you mentioned: financial, physical, interpersonal, and technological. Was there a fifth one?
Well, I did the physical, I divided into two. It was physical and interpersonal. Wait a minute.
Interpersonal, okay.
Yeah, because I was like, wow, we can't just comment on the physical, because the risks are also interpersonal. I mean, particularly, but these are all doable.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
You're welcome.
And following the download of our conversation here, when I send that out, I'll send everything that you've spoke about, Reverend Deborah.
Okay, thank you. And also the TED Talk. There's a little TED Talk,
Yeah.
which is like you know, it's about 15 minutes. It's and people might say to you, why are we watching a TED Talk on mountain climbing? But if you watch it, if you preview it, you'll see he does really get into the heart of the matter, and he presents it in a way that people aren't used to having risk management presented. I think there's something to that. There's a ton of videos. If you don't like that video, there's a ton of videos on YouTube, and I just think it lowers the temperature in the room to have something which it doesn't start off with, you know, a talking head from church insurance talking about risk management. It comes at it from a different perspective. So let's see. Like I said, this is not an easy topic, but there's so many resources available to the churches. We do not have to reinvent the wheel. I mean, I would suggest that on Monday or Tuesday morning, after you give the rector time to take a breath, or the next vestry meeting, you know, you say to your vestry, look, this is free. We get something back from our money. Let's schedule a walk around by church insurance, because it does take them a while to get down there. You know, they only have a certain number of people in the different provinces, so they don't come in a week. They come, it's a couple of months away to get the schedule. So you could schedule that, and in the meantime, you could have your, you know, coffee hour talk or your vestry talk, get together a team and start working your way through these lists. So let me see. I'm just trying to look at it. Jody, if you can look through the resource page, we can sort of talk a little bit about what the resources are that are on the page, and then we have additional resources that, so you can see we've listed Safe Church up here, and that would that involves, of course, the interpersonal. And so you've probably received over time many different alerts from our bishop's office, particularly the canon to the ordinary, saying that that there's a particular set of trainings that that individuals in each parish, in the leadership of each parish, need to be certified in. And Church Insurance has made this training program pretty easy. You can go online. There's a lot of there online. They keep track of of who's taken the program. You have one person in your parish that's the point person that facilitates of the training program, and then the diocese goes ahead and offers this sort of second part of the training. And the bishop's office has undergone some reorganization. And my understanding is there's a new Safe Church person coming on board in the next, I don't know, 3 to 4 weeks. But because there's no person on board for that right now, doesn't mean that you couldn't go ahead and get all of your people certified that need to be certified. And this includes all of the members of the vestry. It includes, of course, the rector. It includes the choir director, the youth director. There's some strong list generated of people that need to be trained in the different programs. And in the past, there was some grumpiness around, people having to be certified, and why do we need to do this? And my perspective is this, awareness is always a really good thing. And so awareness in the life of the church is good, but also awareness in the life of the community. So like if you're trained, then you can kind of go, oh, that situation doesn't feel right. Or, should I, how, are my children safe going to this program? Or, my grandchildren, or, am I safe in this area? How can I make it safer? At St. Columba, we are sponsors of Cub Scouts and Boy Scouts, in addition to being the church. So I have to be certified in everything. The Cub Scouts have a separate training. The Boy Scouts have a separate training, and the church has separate trainings. And I welcome that. Because I like to be aware of things. And anyway, if people give you a hard time about it, just say, it's good to be aware. Episcopal Relief and Development, these people are our friends. They generate a lot of data. They generate a lot of how-tos. And particularly in the world of South Florida, they generate information about preparing for a hurricane, what to do after a hurricane. And my experience with St. Columba and sort of watching them in action around the United States and around the world, they're always there. When trouble occurs, they are probably the hardest working office in the Episcopal Church. When trouble, especially these past 2 years, when trouble occurs, they are there. If something happens in the life of the church and it's a natural disaster, Episcopal Relief and Development works through the bishop's office, just so you know. I hope you never have to find this out, but Episcopal Relief and Development works through the bishop's office to kind of offer support to your church or to the area. And so then you can also see now we're having to deal with shootings and things like that. You can see that they have also branched over into that area. So I won't say that they're a one-stop shop, because there's much more. But if you schedule your appointment with Church Insurance, you have your party, call it a party, call it a risk management party. Offer, margaritas or pina coladas, or, have steel drums, whatever it takes, to get people interested you know, what is it? People say a spoonful full of sugar makes the medicine go down. You know, whatever it takes to get people interested in this. It is such an important area. I mean, everything is really great until it's not, and you know, we want to make sure that the opportunities for things being less great are few and far between. Um, let's see. The Episcopal Church Foundation, I'm not sure if your vestries are, this is a free service of Episcopal Church Foundation. It's your vestry or your leadership can sign up for the vestry papers, and they have lots and lots of information on risk management. Because if you think about, part of the role of the vestry is to be responsible for what? The financial well-being of the church and the property of the church. And so getting your vestry in the habit of taking a look at outside of the walls of the church, which is the tendency in every church, just only think about the church and, you know, everything is fine, sunshine and roses, blue sky day today. Get your vestry in the habit of thinking, okay, we have to think outside of our walls and take advantage of all of these free resources, because right now at this point, there's been nothing here that will cost a church any money. Everything here that I've listed is free to the church. I mean, there's definitely money involved in if you think about time and talent, of course, you're going to be using the time and talent of the people of the congregation in terms of identifying and mitigating. There's money involved in that. And then, of course, the Manual of Business Methods, which is sent out by the Episcopal Church USA, I think it's in conjunction with Episcopal Church Foundation. Am I right, Jody? And I think, is there a cost to that? Or now that it's online, no, that's also free. It can give administrative help and support with regard to the finances, how a church should be operating. It's a huge document, but it's indexed so that you can look at it and say, oh, I have a question about that. I'm interested in this thing, and that's you know, something that we need to take a look at. And so, and then of course, the problem becomes, you know, replicating this on a yearly basis, so things don't get too out of hand. I'm going to tell you 3 stories in the next 5 minutes, real quick. So when Hurricane Irma hit St. Columba, we did not receive water damage. We received roof damage because really 3 large trees from our beautiful memorial garden fell on the roof of our church. And in the beginning, we actually didn't think we had that much damage because we didn't notice that we cut the trees down, right? We got the trees off the roof and we cut the trees down. And it was only later that we noticed that the 3 trees, our church is beamed. Our church has beams running through it. 5 beams built in the 60s, 5 beams. It was only later, like 2 months later, that we noticed that 3 of the beams had cracked in the roof of the church. So we called church insurance. And they came down on the next day. It was a structural engineer came down the next day from Tennessee. And he gave us the glad tidings of, now, of course, you know, this wasn't an emergency. So just so you know, this was an emergency. So this wasn't a walkthrough. This was like, we want to get paid, right? Something has happened. We want to get paid. And also it's by our locale where we are. So he came down. He said, okay, you need to mitigate against these 3 beams that have broken. And or you can't have church here in your facility. And that is like, I couldn't believe it when I got that call. It's like, you mean now? And he said, yes, now. So we called some contractors in our town, right in Marathon, and they immediately put up beams. So we have, or not beams, supports, you know, those metal supports. And church insurance deemed that those were perfectly fine. So the church did not have to close. And we started life in our church from 2017 until when the church reopened in 2022, in 2022, with beams in the church. I mean, with supports in the church. Now, once we got into the world of repairing the church, because we live in the Florida Keys, which is a different circumstance than what you are, we went above, and the church was built in the 60s. We went above the FEMA maps and things like that. And more than 51% of our church was damaged. And we had to bring every single item in our church up to code. Every single item. We had to replace all of the electrical, all of the fire prevention, all of the windows. We had to do mitigation on all of the doors. In addition to the roof, we, instead of having 5 beams in the church now, we now have 9. So $2 million later, we have a brand new, beautiful church, which I'm really proud of, and will last for a long time. We have these giant flood panels, which are ridiculous because they weigh, I don't know how we're ever going to move them, but they were mandated, so we have to have them. They were mandated by FEMA. But you know, I'm really glad that our church is so beautiful the way it is. But we really did not have any water damage. Some water blew through an opening in the door, and we had to replace the hymn books. But you know, looking at these trees, right, in our beautiful memorial garden, I mean, they were close to they were gorgeous. If the trees had not fallen on the roof, none of this would have happened. Now we are blessed with a brand new, beautiful building. But looking back, you know, we had cut down one tree, and these trees were healthy. We had cut down one tree that was not healthy, and that was a massive tree. We had cut down that one tree. And if that had fallen, I mean, that would have like taken out the church, I think. That was an older tree. But you know, you look back and things that you think are benign or even beautiful. I mean, we have beautiful hammocks around the church, in which we're very proud of. But looking back on that, you know, you think, well, okay, $2 million. And all that time out of the church took a toll. Fortunately, we're a strong congregation, and we were able to go to say, okay, this is what we're going to do, and you know, go through it. And we went through it intact and actually gained membership through the course of the problem. So that's my first story. My second story is I as part of the Congregational Vitality team work with Jody and I work down at St. Peter's in Key West. And so St. Peter's has it's a beautiful church building, you know, I mean, absolutely gorgeous, but you know, a huge building with a very, very small congregation and not too many people. And their maintenance had been let go for many, many years, and their roof was leaking in their sanctuary and causing actually what we thought was going to be, I mean, a huge amount of damage. I mean, before church insurance came down, nobody knew, you know, what. So this is like a happy story. It's a story that involves a lot of work, but it's a happy story. So church insurance came down. They met with the junior warden and went through the whole assessment of the church, you know, giving A pluses to certain areas of the church, you know, did the entire assessment of the church, and found that because of the leaking in the parish hall roof and the leaking in the sanctuary, that neither of those roofs were insurable under church insurance. So, what does that mean? It means that, look, if it rains and there's damage to the walls, you know, church insurance is not going to cover it because they're not insurable until the repairs are made. So St. Peter's, you know, took that checklist to heart, and they really started working through it. They repaired the parish hall. The parish hall is completely insured now, completely insured. Many different really great repairs have been made. And St. Peter's has now come into, we're just in line right now at St. Peter's. The permit has been applied for to replace the roof in the sanctuary. The roof has been tarped. It hasn't solved the complete problem of the continuing water damage, but that's the best that that we can do. You know, a capital campaign was started. The church has applied for some money from property and loan, but rather being a sore point in the life of the church, which, you know, was aware that the church was not in great shape, this has been in many respects a rally point. I mean, I'm not going to try to sugarcoat it and say everything is great, but there's pride and there's a sense of accomplishment when you actually take a building, which their parish hall is large. When you take a building that was deemed uninsurable and it comes back into insurance and it's repaired and usable and viable for the parish and the community, there's a sense of regeneration and resurrection through that. And we're just in line right now for you know, the church roof being replaced. And so I know we're a few minutes over, but I'm going to finish up this story with one more. And this is very painful to me. We bought and renovated to what we were thinking at St. Columba, a beautiful apartment complex. We did everything right. We purchased it. We got funding for it. We had 1 million structural assessments for it. We had general contractors on it. We had the building inspected. It was given, you know, a pass by the city. And 3 years later, one of the balconies fell off of the building. So no one was killed, no one was hurt. But we have an apartment complex that's currently empty while we are right now. This is why I'm so familiar with this topic. We are re-engaged completely into this topic of, you know, risk assessment, you know, doing our due diligence, looking under every corner and every crack to kind of like restart the process. Now, if we hadn't had the experience of working through St. Columba, rebuilding St. Columba, and the strength that working together as a team, as a parish team, gave us, I think that the Abbey story could be a different, or not the Abbey, the workforce housing story could be a different story for the church. By going through this process of, you know, assessment and working through the project, we were very well set up to meet this emergency. From the very beginning, when I got the call, the balcony had fallen off, I knew who to call. I called the head of the building team for the church. He came down. He was like, okay, now we need to call, after not really being sure because it was a Saturday afternoon, he was like, okay, now we need to call the city. We need to call 911, basically, even though no one was hurt. It was a Saturday afternoon. We're going to call them. And then the building officials from the city came down. And, you know, we called insurance. Since it's a commercial building, it's not insured through church insurance. Insurance came down. You know, we brought in structural engineers right away. I mean, it's been a massive song and dance. But at St. Columba, there has been no harsh word. There's been no wringing of hands. There's been no sense of this is going to destroy us. There has been only, how can we move forward with the tools that we have and the tools that we've learned, you know, through hard experience to bring that building back to, you know, back to its, I won't even say former glory, to be stronger than its former glory. And so this is a topic, lessons hard learned, but lessons learned. Because if you look at us, we did everything right with the apartment building. We had structural engineers, we had general contractors, we had the city of Marathon, we had, we did every assessment known to humanity, and still things can go wrong, and there's the risk. And that's why we do these beginning risk analysis, risk assessments, so that we are well set up in case the worst might happen. And I would say the worst did not happen with the apartment building because no one died and no one got hurt. So that's my talk. That's it's a very important topic for our churches, given that we're mainly all in aging buildings. I'm not sure. I mean, St. Columba was built in the 60s. Linda, how about your building? Do you know when your
I know actually we just failed a fire inspection about 6 months ago.
Okay.
And we also had a building campaign, and we raised the money. We have all new panels, everything. We're waiting for the final inspection next week. Right now, I'm not sure about our roof. We just got, I guess it's because of the falling structures on the beach, Broward County, and we're still dealing with that.
Yep.
Whether all buildings over 3,000 square feet and over 25 years now, or is it 35 years, have to be re-inspected for occupancy. There seems to be confusion at the Broward County level, and actually somebody went there again this week to see what we need to do. So all our buildings are being reassessed. Holy Sacrament is not an old campus, but our buildings are old.
Yeah.
What pushes us is we rent our property, part of it, to a charter school. So of course, that really pushes up us to maintain.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, in the Keys, they've moved that assessment of buildings. The buildings assessments are 17 years now.
Oh, wow. Okay.
They're every 17 years now, and that's a new thing. So
Yeah.
this is a result. I mean, thank God, actually, that we're all doing this. I mean, honestly, that's what I think. Thank God. It's the result of that building, the apartment, the condominium falling at the beach.
Right.
And so how about you, Linda? Do you know, I mean, St. Agnes is really, really
I'm
old.
at information. Chanel is at
Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Incarnation's building was built in the 90s, but it was an addition to the existing sanctuary, which must have been built in the 50s.
Yeah, okay. So
But
you're in the same boat we were in.
Yeah, but I think and I was not a member of the parish at that time, but I believe when they built the new sanctuary, I'm certain, that the old sanctuary had to be brought up to code because it's now the parish hall.
Okay, right. Okay.
Um,
Yeah, so you might want to look at the amount of time that is and see if the codes have changed and see, you know what I mean? These new rules are real.
Yeah.
There's a special inspector. Actually, these are specially trained inspectors. They're not just like regular inspectors. These are, at least down in the Keys, these are specially trained inspectors that have to go through an entirely different licensing program. And they come around and they do, down in the Keys, it's now 17 years. Up in the mainland, is it 25 years, you said, Linda?
That's what we're debating with the county. Is it under 3,000 square feet over, and is it 25 or is it 35 years?
Yeah, okay. All right. And
I'm
Chanel, I'm not sure if you're still there. So you're at historic St. Agnes. And so not a new building.
Yes, well, as you know, since our title is historic, we go through different stringents because of being in the archives, and so we have to have a certain kind of inspection to maintain the historical aspects of the church. We just actually had a new roof put on the church, electrical, AC. We were grateful through the CRA to assist us with that. So I know church insurance, of course, knew of that because in order to get the CRA to do the work, we had to go through the secondary insurance, listing those companies that they had to work on the church, provide the service. So they're aware of it as well. And of course, the October coming, new insurance.
Right, that's right. We all just got our bills.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah,
all
so
just got our bills.
so we're old. As we know, we celebrated our 125th, but that's not 125th in the structure we're in, but the structure we're in has gone through some phases of reinventing of itself. I know Linda probably knows too, from whence I was a child, we went from windows to stained glass because we had the pigeons worship with us as well from when I was little. So we've come a long way
Mhm.
from that time. I must say. So we're going
That
through
structure, that
yes.
the existing structure, I think, was built in 1912 or something like that.
Yeah.
It's extremely old.
Oh, yeah. And we have several structures. We have our church rectory, which is also noted as historical. We have our Blackett Hall as well. So we have three structures on the property that we have to also, of course, maintain. So the church was the most important to getting the roof done. So now we're in the midst of trying to get the other roofs done regarding the church. So we have a lot of work to do still.
Yeah.
We have a lot of work to do still. And the question that I want to ask is, and it's just for me because I'm learning all this. I'm the treasurer, but I was once the senior warden.
Okay.
In regards to the church insurance, as the church in the diocese, we can't get another church insurance. We have to stick with whom we have now, correct? Which all the Episcopal churches do business with.
Yes, right now that is true. You can look around. You can look around.
Mm-hmm.
But the bishop's office is pretty firm on that.
Okay.
Okay. I mean, if you can find something that is more economical, it is worthwhile to bringing it to the bishop's office attention.
Okay.
Because, in our province, we're known as the hurricane province, really, province 4. I will not say that there's a happy marriage between church insurance and province 4. And so there is always a great deal of discussion about church insurance, the company of church insurance.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you can find a better situation for your church, I think definitely Bishop Eaton would like to hear about it. I'm not saying that the executive committee would change its mind, but there is an openness toward hearing about other options. Will they act upon those options? I'm not going to speculate on that.
Okay, I just wanted to, because of clarification, because you hear things, but for me, learning is knowledge, and I wanted to know exactly on the stance of the diocese in reference to ours we're doing in private insurance. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not on executive committee now, but I was for, kind of on and off over the years. And that question, came up a lot on executive committee. And I don't think the answer has really changed. And in our deanery convocation down in the Keys, that question often comes up in our convocation.
Oh, okay.
We take it on the teeth down here in the keys
Okay.
with our insurance.
Deborah,
Yes.
may I ask, in your situation with your parish, did church insurance pay?
They did pay.
It paid. Okay.
They paid. It was hand-to-hand combat. I mean, if you have a minute, I'll be honest. I'll give you my honest, I'm no longer angry about it, but I was extremely angry. So we came in, there are several things that have been changed at church insurance, as a result of that hurricane in 2017. So we came in 2017, where because it was a hurricane, in the world of hurricanes, you were at the time required to pay a higher deductible. And that deductible, I say, was it 9%, Jody? Was it 9? Was it 10? It was a very high
I think it was
deductible.
10%.
Yeah, so when it was an hurricane insurance claim, you were required to pay 10% deductible
On
of
each building.
for each building. We have 5 buildings at St. Columba. We have
Wow.
5 buildings, and each one of our buildings sustained a certain amount of damage. 2 of our buildings, we actually didn't even go through church insurance because the deductible was so high. We replaced just cash we replaced the roofs on 2 buildings because the deductible, we just felt like it's not worth it to go through the process. And we still haven't replaced the elevator in our Abbey because of that's our next thing, and we're going to be replacing it through cash. So fortunately, our deductible on our church building, so it was the sanctuary, the parish hall, and through like some miracle, our office was joined by this little teeny tiny roof structure, just this little teeny tiny walkway. If it hadn't been joined by that little teeny tiny walkway, it would have been deemed an extra building.
Mhm.
But so the sanctuary, the parish hall, and our office building were deemed one building. So our church deductible on those 3 buildings was it 75,000? So that was just to get the party started.
Mhm.
We fortunately had money in our building fund and things like that where we could pay that deductible right away. And I mean, I don't know how we had the wherewithal to do that. It was, I will say, I'll be frank, it wasn't by design. It wasn't, we didn't have an active building fund campaign at the time going on. We just had the funds. And thank God for that, because Jody's our parish administrator, so I won't keep you. I know we've gone way over the time. So I'll just pause here and you can tell me. I don't really want to know this nightmare, Deborah.
No, this is fine.
Okay.
I want to know too. So
Okay.
please continue.
Yeah, so I had assured our parish, because we had some damage. We had a little air conditioning problem years back, and church insurance had been so nice to us. It was a very small claim. It was simple. They were easy to work with.